guys, welcome to 6 Minutes for Thursday, January 26th. I'm Jason Fulmore, SE Wrestle, and this is what you need to watch this weekend. And this might be a little long because I did a quick preview of the Colby Singletary Memorial Tournament down in at Palmetto Ridge. I said captain because that is actually I think it's the Captain Colby Singletary fishing tournament that takes place every summer. So you'll get a chance to hear my conversation with Coach Ison about Colby Singletary and all of that in just a little bit. But let's kick things off. In the state of Tennessee, they start with their state duels this weekend, and we should know by early next week who are the 8 teams that have punched their ticket to the state duels in the state of Tennessee. So we're waiting on that information. I don't know all of the regions at the moment, but we'll have to just kind of wait to see how that all plays out. Over in North Carolina, the women's regionals actually happen tonight. They will be battling it out in each of the weight classes to try to punch their ticket, the top 4 in each of the regions, to head to the state tournament, which is February 4th in Greensboro, and their state tournament will take place alongside the state duels in the state of North Carolina, which should be a blast. State duels brackets also dropped, and like Alabama, if you're in a different state than Georgia or Florida, like in Alabama, North Carolina kind of does the same thing, where they don't host it on a weekend necessarily, and they kind of host it at kind of host schools as they go along. And we have our brackets, though, and, man, they look like a lot of fun. 1A, on the top side, your number 1 seed is Uwharrie Charter. Your number 2 is Rosewood on that side. Thomasville is 3, and Pamlico is 4. On the bottom, you've got Robbinsville as your top seed. Avery County is your number 2. Mount Airy is number 3, and Cherryville is number 4. I'll be updating all of those as they get wrestled and as they get updated as we go along. The next week in the state of North Carolina is going to be wild. There's going to be a ton going on as far as wrestling goes and everything else. As far as the state duels go and everything else. All right, let's jump to 2A. And in 2A, just like 1A, it's going to be a ton of fun. And if you can't tell, again, if you're not from the state of North Carolina, it's kind of east and west. So, one side of the state kind of wrestles their side, the other side of the state kind of wrestles their side, and then we meet in the middle for the state championship. Your number 1 seed on the top line is Bunn. Your number 2 seed down on that same side is Southwest Onslow. 3 seed being Washington, and Seaforth being your number 4 seed. Ton going on with their Instagram. They're always posting things. I'm sure we'll get a chance to see some clips from this week over the next few days of their action. On the bottom, you've got Newton Conover as the 1 seed. Number 2, you got RS Central. Number 3, Moorhead. And number 4, Trinity. It's, again, going to be a lot of fun. Bottom side, as they march through, you see in a first-round matchup down there, Mount Pleasant and Bandy's. Mount Pleasant and Bandy is going to be a really good one. 2 teams that are traditionally always there. They're going to meet in round 1 here in 2A. All right, 3A. Let's jump over and see what the one side of the bracket. Top side has Union Pines as your number 1 seed. Orange is your 2 seed. 3 is Swansboro, Swansboro is number 3 seed. 4 seed is First Flight. And those are your top 4 seeds out east. And then out west, down on the bottom side of the bracket, your number 1 seed is Fred T. Ford. 2 seed, Eastern Guilford. A lot of people have been talking about Eastern Guilford and Ford. Boy, if they both get there, that could be a fantastic semifinal. 3 seed is West Rowan, and your number 4 seed, Pisgah. So Ford, Eastern Guilford, West Rowan, and Pisgah are your top 4 seeds in 3A out west. And again, looking through the bracket, there should be some fantastic matchups between those teams as well. And you can kind of catch some of that action over the next few days as we march on. All right. And in 4A, number 1 seed, New Bern. We're traditionally, we kind of look to some other teams. I mean, like Laney, who's down at the 2 seed, Pinecrest, who's the 3 seed, Athens Drive, who's the 4 seed. But, you know, we sometimes see some of those other teams in that place. But your number 1 seed out in the East is New Bern. They will get Chapel Hill first, and then the winner of Rollsville and Corinth Holders in the next round. And as you can see at the top, and I'm not sure 100% you can see this, it says Saturday, January 28th, and those first 2 rounds will be wrestled. So we'll know who emerges from those 2 rounds throughout the bracket. All right, and on the bottom side, out west, Northwest Guilford comes in as the number 1 seed. 2 seed is West Forsyth. 3, Piedmont. 4, Mooresville. Mooresville wrestled exceptionally well at Holy Angels, and I think they took 5th. So they're definitely a team that needs to be somebody need to keep an eye on. Huff is number 5, so a potential Huff-Mooresville match at Mooresville this weekend could be a lot of fun to watch. Anyway, so those are your brackets. Those all kick off in just 2 days. And, North Carolina is going to be a ton of fun. So we've got Tennessee State duels, North Carolina State duels. I think we've got to wait a week until we get South Carolina State duels. We've already crowned our champions in the duels down in Alabama, Florida, and Georgia. And those 3 states now transitioned back to traditional. And Alabama and Georgia, there's a weekend of wrestling, of tournaments, before they gear up for their run for an individual state title. Florida has a few weeks longer than that, as they've, I think, got 2 or 3 weeks before they start their districts down in Florida. And this weekend, we get treated with a really good tournament, a fantastic tournament called the Colby Singletary Memorial Tournament. I'm going to break that down for the rest of this time. But before I do so, I want to go ahead and share with you my conversation with Coach Blaine Ison of Palmetto Ridge. Coach Ison, Palmetto Ridge High School. Thanks for joining me. Hope things are going well down in your neck of the woods.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So we're talking about the Colby Singletary Memorial Tournament at Palmetto Ridge High School. And you have assembled a great group of teams coming together. And, you know, I got to watch Colby Singletary compete and that sort of thing. And it just seems like the type of tournament with this group of teams coming together and these level of individuals coming together that he probably would have really enjoyed competing in something like this tournament.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Colby always wanted to compete against the best. And, he was the type of kid that always liked competing against the best. And that's where usually he thrived as well. Kid that didn't really, pressure never really got to him. So he shined in events like this. So, you know, this tournament has gotten deep, very quickly. So we're super excited for it.
Yeah, no. And I'm going to get to the tournament and talk about the breakdown of kind of some of the matchups we might see. I mean, 2 weight classes just kind of really jump out to me, but we won't get into that detail with you. I know you're busy. You got like tons of things going on. But what I wanted to ask you was, for those people who didn't know Colby Singletary, didn't get to see him compete or anything like that, how was he on the mat? How was he in the room, and taking coaching and that sort of thing?
Colby, he was, a very special talent. As a coach, you hear of like the it factor, and that's exactly what Colby had. He had that it factor that's just something that you can't teach. Now, obviously, he was a kid comes from a wrestling family. So a lot of people, especially in the state of Florida, know him. And to be honest, I think that's why this tournament grew so quickly, when we first announced it, because a lot of these teams have seen Colby, compete since he was a little kid, and they wanted to be a part of this. And, and grow this tournament the right way. But yeah, Colby was a very special athlete. Just like any other kid, he always loved to have fun. Always looking to kind of break the mood. When I was always trying to, I'd be hard on the team or something. He was always the one trying to crack a joke or something. And like, sometimes it was frustrating, but that's what you need, and
Right.
coming from one of the better kids, he was a kid that all the kids looked up to,
Mm-hmm.
and he was such a great individual on and off the mat. He was just someone, even us coaches and parents and stuff, just people gravitated to him. You
Yeah.
don't see time in a kid, and that's who he was. He was a special person.
Yeah. So, I mean, for those people who don't know, he passed away. I mean, I can't believe it's been almost 4 years now, in a tragic car accident, that sort of thing. I was kind of doing, I mean, I knew Colby from on the mat. I knew he was a fantastic football player as well. But, I when you and I discussed kind of having this conversation, I went and kind of did a little bit of reading and looked back. And I guess he was really big into fishing and things along those lines, and the scholarship activity the scholarship that is now in his name. There's a fishing tournament and that sort of thing. Can you talk to me a little bit about Colby off the mat?
Yeah. Yeah. Off the mat, he was always out on the water or out in the woods, four-wheeler and doing something out in the outdoors. Literally every Sunday, he'd be out on the boat, going out on the water, going to the beach with his friends, fishing. So like I said, you talk about living life to the fullest. That's what he did. We wear LLC on our singlets, and that's our hashtag, live like Colby, and that's what that means. Always live life to the fullest, go out there, have fun. So he was always doing something fun. I can truly.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, you this from a wrestling fan's perspective, this weekend looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, and I'm going to break down the weight classes here in a second, but I mean, it just looks unbelievably good.
Yeah, I'm super excited for this weekend. I was talking to one of the other coaches. I was like, I don't even want to coach this week. I just want to sit back and watch, because it's going to be some awesome, weight classes. Some of these weight classes are just super deep. We're, going through trying to seed them. It's like, we can't just seed some of them. We couldn't just seed 8. We had to go through and, that kid's really good. So we, can't just draw him in. So some
Right.
of these big classes, we were talking about seeding 10 guys, which, doesn't really happen at a regular tournament.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, good luck this weekend, Coach, and I appreciate you taking just a few minutes out of your time to preview the tournament for me.
Absolutely, and thank you for doing a preview for us.
Yeah. All right. So first, I want to say thank you to Coach Ison for taking a moment to talk to me. He's super busy, tons going on as they get ready to host many of the best teams in the state this weekend down at Palmetto Ridge, and many of these teams were in fact together in the same gym last weekend at Osceola High School for the state duels. But we didn't get to see some of these matchups. Some of the 3A, 2A, or possible 2A, 1A, or whatever matchups that we could see this weekend. They didn't wrestle each other last weekend because obviously they were making a run for a state duels title, and they were focused on the task at hand, not an individual tournament. So, it's going to be a barn burner this weekend, and I can't wait to watch and see how it all plays out. Let's jump to 106, and I don't know everybody will be there, so take this with a grain of salt. But from what I saw, I would pick Matthew Newman of Fleming Island as the favorite. He comes in as number 2 ranked by Brent Parsons and Cobra Wrestling, and then you've got Jake Austin and Carlos Sainz from Somerset, Mason Odell, Brian Morales, Everett Stevens. And again, another example, Stevens in 1A, Morales in 3A, Odell in 1A. They may or may not have seen each other. In fact, I don't think any of them saw each other last weekend. So that's super interesting. You might want to keep an eye on Isaac Tuwenko of Cape Coral, who is currently unranked, but I've heard a lot of really good things about him. Jumping to 113, I think your favorite is the kid who makes his home at Palmetto Ridge, and that is Tyler Washburn, multiple-time state champion. Certainly a good weight class that includes Elijah Lowe, the Little Solis, the smaller of the two, Duhai Lungsod. Man, I probably slaughtered that, Shane. I'm so sorry. Guillermo Jaramillo of South Dade, Robert Albert of Cape Coral. All really, really good 113s. Again, we saw so many of them compete last week. I think Lowe and Duhai Lungsod wrestled in the finals at 113. Might want to keep an eye on a couple of Mater Lakes boys, Kellen Messina and Bruce Lee. I don't know if they'll both be at 13 or if Lee will be up at 20, but both have a number next to their name, and they definitely will be ones to watch as well. Jump into 20. Lake Gibson's Christian Fretwell wrestled exceptionally well last weekend. He should be your favorite, I would think. But I'm really interested to watch him and, Luis Acevedo, who was also in the gym and wrestled exceptionally well for South Dade, who's number 2 in 3A. You got Jonathan Motor. You got Laird Duhai Lungsod from Fleming Island, who's ranked number 2 in 2A. And then you've got Baron Collier's Enos Lajokovic. I think that's how I say it. Boy, I probably slaughtered that. I'm so sorry if I did. He's number 3 in 2A. 120, I mean, Fretwell's a big favorite, but that's a deep weight. And a name you might want to watch, who's not ranked nearly as high as them, but I think really has an opportunity to make a name, is Aiden Baker of Heritage, who's number 10 in 2A. All right, jumping up to 126, got to see Maximus Brady last time at the Knockout, wrestled exceptionally well from Mariner. To me, he's probably your favorite. But, man, that Colt Brown-Jace Paradin match from the finals in 2A could be your semifinal match at the Colby Singletary Memorial Tournament here at 126. It should be fantastic. You've also got John Aviles. You got Barnhart, Velasco, Tran. Might want to keep an eye out for Nathaniel Williams as well. I think that they're letting multiple wrestlers for the weight obviously compete. Obviously only one will be the scorer for South Dade, but it might be interesting to keep an eye on them and watch to see how he does. In 132, I don't know that there is a clear favorite. Tristan Sains probably is ranked highest, but Andres Di Grigoli, Gaetano Tedesco wrestled super well. Tyree Graham wrestled really well this past weekend. Those are all names I think you could definitely see on the number 1 seed line, but only one of them will get it. And whoever wrestled the best this weekend, I think out of those 4, probably finds their way through to the title. Jonathan Martinez Mercado of South Fort Myers is a name that you probably don't know. He's ranked number 4 in 2A according to Brant Parsons, but not a name that I think that a lot of people necessarily know, and certainly somebody who can make some noise at 132. 138, EJ Solis of South Dade comes in, number ranked in 3A. It's a great weight that includes Gallo and Giles and Valoria and Travius Walker, but EJ Solis, at least from last weekend and watching him compete again, looked like he was at a different level. A name you might want to keep an eye on is Gabriel Frejea of Heritage, who's ranked number 3 in 2A, but up at 145. And we might see him drop to 138, which would be really interesting. So another name to keep an eye on. 145, Misho Arbos, man, he took Anderson Heat to the very edge. Looks like he is wrestling absolutely fantastic. To me, he's definitely the favorite at 145. Emmanuel Celestin and Michael Sains are definitely in the mix there as well. Name you might not know, just like a name we mentioned previously, as far as a few names previous weight classes, Alfredo Corrales of Key West. He's ranked down at number 19 in 1A, but definitely somebody you might want to keep an eye on, see how he does. See if this is the type of tournament where if you're ranked pretty low and you can make a run and make the podium, I think you've got to feel pretty confident heading into the postseason that you're going to be able to find a way onto the podium at Silver Spurs in March. So 152, I mean, we don't pick who's going to be the finals, but Gianni Maldonado and Gavin Balmaceda. I'm sorry, Gavin. I almost said Brevin. Gavin Balmaceda. I mean, that looks like their finals match. But Maldonado, man, he won 8-7 over Matthew Kotler of Fleming Island in that match, in their duel. Don't be surprised, man. This is a good weight. Nazario, Bellon, Castelloni. I mean, we're talking, and Kotler. I mean, these are all wrestlers that have the ability to go with anyone at the weight. Joel Anduzalza of Immokalee is a name that probably is off the radar, especially with all the names that are on the radar, but definitely somebody you might want to keep an eye on. 160. It's actually one of the two weights that I was referencing with Coach Ison in our interview. I mean, you could have the three state champions in one, like the state champion in 1A, the state champion in 2A, and the state champion in 3A, all trying to win the title at 160. I mean, you've got Minto, Kendrick Hodge, Cordell White. They definitely will all be in the hunt for a state title. And, I mean, is there a better finals than that? Well, there might be. We'll have to look at a weight class later, but that's super good. And then you got Christopher Chop and Connor Hackett, who I believe was a 1-0 match in last week's duels. Keep an eye on Caleb Gabrielson of Heritage, another name that you might want to keep an eye on to do exceptionally well. 170, favorite is Roman Garcia from Palmetto Ridge. He's wrestled exceptionally well. You know, lots of programs, they host tournaments, and the expectation is that they're going to win that tournament. And I'm sure that expectation exists for Palmetto Ridge. But I will say they've invited just a fantastic group of teams to compete. And yeah, it's going to be a tough road, definitely. 170 includes Lawrence Rosario, who pushed Gunnar Holland to the edge in their duel, 3-1. You got Donatelli, Brownlow, and Brownlow Bozeman. If you didn't see that match from the 2A state duels finals, it was wild. And that could be, those could be your 4 and 5 seed or your 3 and 4 seed. If they're on the same side of the bracket and they match up once again, man, watch out. It's going to be really good. Noah Perez, who's ranked number 9 in 1A, is definitely another name you want to keep an eye on at 170. And I made reference earlier to a weight that was unbelievably good. This is the other weight, and that is 182 with Motor, Joyce, and Tito Solorzano. I mean, we're talking just, again, could be state champions in the 3 different classifications at 182. Darian Torres from Balin Jesuit. A lot of people have been telling me about him, so definitely one to watch. I can't imagine him knocking off any of those 3 individuals in what should be a fantastic semifinal between 2 of them, and then an unbelievable final. So be sure to tune in and catch those matches. I wish I was in town, man. Those 160 and 182 are worth the price of admission by themselves. Trust me. 195, your favorite, Ansel Cervantes of South Dade, Tristan Van, Carmichael Gonzalez of Northport, Poe from Fleming Island, all definitely ones to watch, as well as Chaos Sanchez of Mariner, who's ranked number 8 in 2A. But definitely your favorite at 195 is Ansel Cervantes. And his teammate is the favorite at 220. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt Sawyer Bartelt is your favorite up there. But there's some good matches. I mean, you've got some good wrestlers in that bracket. You got Robinson, Fleming Island, Soto, Mater Lakes, Gregorio Herrera of Immokalee, and then a name you might want to watch, Ralph Ritchie from Key West. He's ranked number 10 in 1A. Definitely another one that you might want to keep an eye on. And then 285. Again, you have a Palmetto Ridge kid in the final, or a kid in Austin Foy, who could be your finalist. In fact, he and Caleb Rodriguez were nearly your knockout final. Foy took Jacob Levy, who ended up winning the knockout, to the very end in their semifinal match at the knockout. Caleb Rodriguez took care of the other side of the bracket, made the finals, but then ended up losing to Levy in the finals. So Foy and Rodriguez looks like a absolutely fantastic final at 285. But don't get ahead of ourselves. Ethan Hofstetter from Fleming Island, Andre Odo of Key West are definitely two other names to keep an eye on. And then Wilson Bartolone of Golden Gate is another name that you might want to keep an eye on for at 285. You know, it's going to be a great tournament. Coach Ison talked about Colby Singletary, who was, if you don't know who Colby Singletary was, as far as his wrestling, go back and watch from 2019, 2018. He was a fantastic athlete, both wrestler, football player, and everything else. And this tournament is in memory of him. And yeah, they've done a really good job of pulling together a fantastic collection of individuals. Be sure you watch that this weekend down in Palmetto Ridge. All right, so that's your weekend of what to watch this weekend. Man, tons going on. North Carolina, Tennessee. I mean, just so much happening as we continue to march on through the season, and we get another week closer to the end. I hope you guys have a good one. Enjoy all the wrestling this weekend.